Hello, VV Nation, and welcome to this week's special presentation entitled Playing the Market to the Downside with Contra ETFs. My name is Glenn Tompkins, Senior Stock Market Strategist for VectorVest, and it's my pleasure to bring your presentation this evening. Now, there's a lot of things going on in the market. News came out today that the port strike, the dock strike, has been moved or postponed or stopped until January, which puts some good upward pressure on the market. So why am I looking at Contra ETFs? Well, the thing is, prior to that, the market had been pulling down, and guess what? If the market does decide that it wants to continue to move to the downside, even after this news, you guys will be prepared to play the market to the downside with Contra ETFs. Does it mean that you have to play them right now? The answer to that is no. Let the market come to you, but we want to have you prepared based on some things that we've been looking at. So with that being said, let's get right into it, what we are looking at. Current market conditions. The market was stalling out. Jobs number came in today, better than expected, giving a boost to the market. But as I record this, I see that neither one of those have put super big pressure on the market to explode to the upside, at least not right now. We've got some candlestick formations that I'm looking at to preclude why I was looking at Contra ETFs. And of course, a lot of global market events affecting the market adversely as well. We have tools within the VectorVest system to take advantage of Contra ETFs when the time is right. And we're going to talk a lot about if the time is right now. We're going to look at the market timing graph. We're going to pay attention to the daily color guard and the colors that are being represented in the daily color guard. But then I will also use the tools of helping you to find ETF searches as well as watch lists. But we're going to dive a little deeper so that you can hone in on what works best for you. Now, let's start off. What is an ETF or an exchange traded fund? An exchange traded fund is an investment vehicle that pulls a group of securities into a fund, like a mutual fund, right? It can be traded like an individual stock on an exchange. So it's like trading a whole group of stocks in one ticker symbol that you can play. So whether you're bullish or bearish on an ETF, you can play one ticker symbol instead of trying to hone in on specific stocks in that industry. Now, what is a contra or inverse ETF? It is the opposite. An inverse ETF is a type of exchange-traded fund, or ETF, that bets against the expected daily performance of an asset or market index. So let's say the NASDAQ as a whole is moving down. Well, you don't want to buy the positive or the bullish ETF. You can play the bearish ETF, which looks at the price movement of the downside of the NASDAQ without you having to short anything. During periods of volatility, day traders may use the short or bear ETFs as a way to reduce their exposure to or potentially even profit from downward market moves. That's for day traders. But what if you're a longer-term investor? You can do the same thing by way of tracking market timing to know that we are definitely in a downtrend. Not saying that we are right now, but using market timing to put yourself in a better position, knowing that the market's in a downtrend. You can trade Contra ETFs for the longer term, but I'm going to show you which kind of Contra ETFs you would want to hold for the longer term versus the ones were best used for shorter term, okay? Now, different ways to play Contra inverse ETFs within the VectorVest system. You can hedge your positions if you're in long positions and you really don't want to close them out, but you want a way to absorb some of the downward price pressure. You can use Contra ETFs to hedge. You can just buy Contra ETFs in a downward market and just grow your capital. All right, so you can just buy them, buy a bearish Contra or buy a Contra ETF and just grow your capital in a space that you know is going down. I like this. ETFs, remember, Contra ETFs or ETFs in general are one ticker symbol that can play a whole space. Why not play an option on that whole space with one ticker symbol as well? I do really like that as well. All right, so with everything that we've just gone over, let's get right into the VectorVest software and take a look at how we find Contra ETFs. So with all of the news that went on today, with the jobs number, with the port strikes, look at this. This is what I mentioned. The market is not taking off vibrantly as many people thought it should. Both of those stories were great news that should, really bolster the market to the upside. But that didn't quite happen just quite yet. But we got a lot of trading day left as I record this recording. But look at the color guard. Another reason why I was playing market to the downside or looking at that is we got all three colors being represented in the color guard. The primary color is what? Yellow. Caution. Not to say that we're full on bearish, but caution. We've got some bullish green lights in the color guard as well as red. The market is having a hard time really situating in a real direction. Also on the color guard, primary wave has now been down for 2 days in a row. Now, that's the fastest, most aggressive timing signal we have. But we look at the DEW is still up. We look at the confirmed call is still up. But first flag here is that the primary wave is down and has been down for 2 days. So here's a great tool looking at the color guard. Now, that's from the home page. That's from the color guard. Let's go to the market timing graph. And let me tell you a little bit about what I was looking at before putting this all together. Let's go look at a 3-month graph on the VectorVest composite. What do I see from a candlestick perspective? I got a little bit of a shooting star. Possibly that wick really needs to be twice the body. I've got a little bit of a hanging man formation right at the top of this pattern, which could be a reversal. Follow through after that pattern. We've come through, we have a level of a gap here, and we all know that gaps like to be filled. Right about there, it got filled yesterday. Today's news pushing it a little bit higher, but we are still trending lower from the high here. The MTI is still above 1, so the underlying trend in the market is up, but pulling down as well. These are the reasons why we're looking at Contra ETFs right now, but let the market come to you. If market is green and starts bouncing up, coming close to the new high, this most recent high, then you don't put these contras on. You put these into a watch list as sort of like a shopping list in case the market continues to want to move lower. Now, anything can happen between now and next week. All right, we know that. So pay attention to market timing. It's a primary, very powerful tool in looking at this type of scenario of looking at Contra ETFs. Now, you're right, green candle today, but closed green candle. I call that a bearish bullish candle. It's higher than the prior day's close, but it's a closed candle because the price right now is lower than the open today. It gives more credence to, at least if nothing else, to prepare to play the market to the downside. So I've given you the insights from a candlestick perspective. I've given you the insights from the market timing graph as a whole, from the color guard, from today's action. I think all of this plays well into, if nothing else, getting your list prepared. What am I looking for? I'm looking for more confirmation of the market moving to the downside before I actually put these Contra ETFs into action. Now, let's talk about how we find within the tools within the VectorVest software the Contra ETFs. We're going to start off with the Unisearch tool. On the Unisearch tool, we got a lot of folders here, but here's a folder right here that says ETFs. And you'll see the green arrows up, those are bullish ETFs, or the red arrows down, those are bearish ETFs. Now, when you buy an ETF, whether it's bullish or bearish, you never have to short anything. On a bearish or contra or inverse ETF, those are already taken into consideration. You would buy these long. Let me show you. So let's click on buying Contra ETFs. All right. It is looking at a group equal to ETF short. Okay. Price actual greater than $1, average volume greater than 100,000 shares, exchange not equal to the IXP, over-the-counter stuff. All right. Stock Watchlist not equal to Contra ETFs. That's another conversation for another time. What a Contra ETF. We have talked about them in a lot of different strategies, but for this, just leave that as it is right now. It's not it doesn't move with the market, sort of, kind of. That's an easy way to put that out there. All right. With that being said, I run the search as of today. Because we have volume criteria in here, I do not need to sort this list by volume. We've already set the base that we've got to have at least 100,000 shares of average volume. Chinese stocks have been going up, but how about the Contra Yang at the top of the list, sorted by VST ascending. Let's move over. VST ascending. So we're looking at the worst sorted all the way down, but you're going to find a lot of these are sell. Why are you talking about buying Contra ETFs that are sell recommendations? Well, the best time to get into a Contra ETF is at the start of a possible downtrend. Let me go back to the graphs. Could this be the start of a possible downtrend? And what this is sort of telling me that if it is, you're getting into Contra ETFs early. If we go back, a lot of these are going to be sell recommendations. Let's graph these all real quick just so that you can see what they look like. Man, I've got, let's going to actually go to the layout of the VectorVest layout. 1 year. It's below our stop price. So these are sell recommendations. When the market is definitely moving lower and Contras are on the move, then look at this. Contras were on the move. The bearish side of the Chinese market was on the move, rocking and rolling. Right now, the Chinese market is rocking. 1 day, 2 days don't make a trend, but it was starting to rise. I'd be careful with this one. Let's go to the next one. NVDQ, looking at NVIDIA. Right now, again, under the stop price, making it a sell recommendation, but this is a Contra ETF. So the beautiful thing about this is I can pay attention to these if the market starts to go down. And if we are at the early stages of the market going down, folks, these could start to take off, and you want to get in early rather than getting in late. But right now, if nothing else, if these don't look appetizing to you, put these on a watch list as pretty much a way of getting your shopping list ready. Anything can happen in the market. I showed you the reasons why I was looking for a potential move to the downside, but who am I? I am a guy. I'm just a guy who's talking to you about looking at these, getting prepared for these, just in case the market shows some signs of wanting to continue to move down. Interesting thing about SVIX is I can draw a horizontal line. We're at a level of support. Could it bounce off this support as a Contra or an inverse ETF and start to move up? Look at the last time it happened. Broke through that level, went up, made some money, came back down, tested it, made some more money, not as much as here. Could it be getting ready to do it for a third time and possibly really take off if the market really does fall? Now, that's the reason why all of these that we're looking at don't look so appetizing right now, but it's okay because we're preparing you nonetheless. All right, so that was just looking at buying Contra ETFs. There's other ways to find Contra ETFs as well. Because we like liquidity, let's go to high average volume Contra ETFs. It looks a lot like the previous search that I just looked at, except for now, instead of sorting VST ascending, this is being sorted by average volume. So the Contras, the Contras that have the most volume behind it, of course, the Qs, the semiconductors, large cap, NVIDIA again, S&P 500, small cap, so on and so forth. But again, a lot of these are sell recommendations, but now we've got a couple of hold recommendations in here as well. Let's graph these real quick and take a look. Are any of these looking better? Well, this is above the stop price. Back and forth. Let's go put this on a 3-month graph. That's below the stop price, SPX coming back above the stop price, getting a hold recommendation, red candle, but the price today is higher than the open, a little bit of a rebound from a Contra ETF on SPXS. NVIDIA down below. Wow. Now, this is interesting looking at the short on the S&P 500, slightly moving up from this high. Open candle today. Again, if nothing else, folks, these are giving you ideas. This is above the stop price, giving you ideas of Contras to start building some semblance of a shopping list. All right. Now, that's just looking at it from searches. We've got other searches that we can use as well. Some of these are not in your software. These are some that I've created. Nonetheless, very easy ways to look at two high potently powerful Contra ETF searches, buying Contra ETFs, and high average volume. I'm going to show you another way to find Contra ETFs as well. Looking in the viewers tab, we go to the ETFs folder, which has a lot of different ETF watch list for you, whether bullish or bearish. Now, let me explain to you different ways to use Contra ETFs as well, depending on how you invest in the market. The first thing I want to look at from this watch list is what we call non-leverage Contra ETFs. So it tracks the underlying index or group of stocks, and for every percent this group moves, these Contras move 1% as well, 1 to 1. All right, non-leverage. We're going to talk about leverage in a second, but this is looking at Goldman Sachs, VanEck, ProShares, short on the 20-year bonds, 10-year treasuries, a lot of different non-leverage Contra ETFs. And these are a good way for those people who are longer-term investors in the market to play the Contra ETF market. These don't move a lot, but when they move, and they can help you to make some money in the market. I was going to go a different direction with what I was going to say, but I'm not. All right, so I can pay attention on a day like today. Which ones are moving? But first things first. If I'm looking at a watch list, notice that I don't have any criteria for volume. When I'm ever looking at a watch list in the VectorVest system and I'm looking for stocks to buy, I always want to sort by average volume. I want to make sure these stocks or these ETFs have made this list, but I need to make sure I have liquidity. Always sort by average volume and pay attention to the ones that are more liquid. Now the list has shifted around a little bit. Pro short on the S&P 500, SH, all right, non-leverage Contra ETFs, SVIX, blah, blah, all the way down. That's one way for the longer-term investor. Let's say you're a little bit more aggressive of a trader, then I'm going to talk to you about two-time leverage ETFs, Contra. Notice that these watch lists are nicely segmented out so that you can hone in on the type of ETFs you're looking for. I'm going to go to the top one, and I'm going to go to full stock analysis report. This will help to explain what a leveraged is. T-Rex 2X Inverse Bitcoin Daily seeks the daily investment results before fees and expenses of 200% of the inverse or opposite of the daily performance of spot Bitcoin. So let's say you think Bitcoin is going down and you want to play a Contra on Bitcoin, then this is one that you want to take a look at, BTCZ. For every 1% Bitcoin goes down, this goes up 2%. So it's a more aggressive way to make money on a Contra ETF. But if Bitcoin goes up 1%, this Contra ETF will go down 2%. So if it goes up 1%, this will go down 2%. It's a more aggressive way of playing the market, but you're going to also potentially increase your losses as well. All right, so TBT is up today as an inverse the 20-year treasuries, it looks like, and it's up 2%. On the yen, going down, this is going up because it's looking at the opposite or inverse of the yen, and it's up 2%. REITs going down today, but it's going up, is the Contra SRS going up 3% today. Now, let's say some of you are super aggressive. Then you can look at three-time leverage Contra ETFs. But what didn't I do on the Contras before? I didn't sort this by average volume. I'll do it again now. All right, on the three-time leverage Contra ETFs, let's go make sure we get the average volume. And here we are. Not many of these going up today. And that's a good sign for you to step away and not play them today, right? That's important. Leverage, Contra ETF, yep, LABD, Yang, these are Contra ETFs. They're not really going up in price today. So again, preparing by looking at a graph, preparing these stocks or Contra ETFs to take a look at is important. Looking at a 3-month graph, I really want to hone in on what's moving now before I pull the trigger. So again, I presented the case of a potential move to the market to the downside based on a lot of different things. If the market is not moving down right now, then you're not putting these Contra ETFs on now. This is in preparation of the market possibly moving to the downside. You start doing this research and building a watch list of Contras that you're looking at when the time comes. you will be well prepared, well ahead of time to play these contras at the right time. Folks, I know there's a lot of information that I gave to you, whether it was looking at the searches to find the Contra ETFs, two of my favorite, which are buying Contra ETFs and high average volume Contra ETFs, and then also going to the watch list viewer, looking at the segmented views of the different types of whether bullish or bearish ETFs is a great way to help you make better decisions at the right time. And we do the work. You reap the rewards. We do all of the segmenting for you, and you go and take advantage of it. All right, folks, thank you for being here today. Hopefully this opened up some eyes, turned on some lights, opened some doors in getting a better understanding of what a Contra ETF, or in general, what an ETF is, and specifically what a Contra or contrarian or inverse ETF is, to help you to take advantage possibly of a market move to the downside. Folks, this video is over. And until the next time, see ya.